So if you watched this week, you saw Coastal Carolina take out BYU, and now the Chanticleers have jumped Georgia in the rankings. It's a pretty amazing statement by the voters in the Associated Press poll. These are voters who are in the media, like me, and that doesn't mean they're right. That's for sure. In this case, it's hard for me to really take seriously a poll that has Coastal Carolina in front of both Georgia and Oklahoma, but whatever. This is how we do things now, and that's what it is. Just want to talk about. Do you think that Coastal Carolina is a better team than Georgia? You tell me. Dean Legge from Dog Post, making you a smarter Georgia fan. I'm trying to make everybody a smarter fan right now. You know, the AP rankings closely mirror the college football playoff rankings until you get past number 6. And I do want to talk about both of them, but I want to talk first about, Georgia not playing really hurts them in the grand scheme of things these weekends, because when you start thinking about, not playing, that means there's no highlights, no one's watching you, no one thinks about anything, and that's what starts happening is teams that get exposure and that get on TV, they're the ones that people talk about. And really, nationally, sort of the national class of reporters, they have been all over this Coastal BYU game because it's an anomaly. It's a strange thing. It's pretty odd to me that anyone would say that BYU has been disrespected, but we've seen that in national media as well. And it just gets to me to be a disappointing reflection of our profession because sometimes the voices that say the most outlandish, I don't know, it just kind of the things that make the least sense are the ones that are magnified by their outlets or by people on Twitter like me retweeting them or saying, hey, why are you talking like this? But it doesn't make a lot of sense to put a team like Coastal in front of teams like Oklahoma, Georgia, etc. It's just bizarre to me. If you watched that game last night, you know that Coastal made really outcoached BYU, but that the players on the field, there was no way that game should have. There was no way they should have lost that game. Period. So now you're seeing the college football playoff poll has Georgia at number 8. Now this will all change on Tuesday, but you have Bama, Notre Dame, Clemson, Ohio State, Texas A&M 5, Florida 6, Cincinnati 7, Georgia 8, Iowa State 9, Miami, Oklahoma, Indiana, BYU was 13. Coastal coming into this weekend was 18. I think this is about right. I think the AP poll is a reflection of what guys do in our profession. They overreact. Alabama's been the best team in the country the whole year. It took them about half the season to be considered that. Is Ohio State I think Ohio State deserves to be in the top 4. Okay? But can you make the argument that Texas A&M is better than Ohio State? You could. Ohio State has got a limited sample pool, but those are different discussions than talking about a Sun Belt team that has really played great this year, but putting them over schools that are, to me, obviously better with like Oklahoma, Georgia. I don't know if Iowa State is better than Coastal. I don't know. They lost to Louisiana Lafayette. But what annoys me about this is that you see this reaction from folks in my profession, and they're like, oh, well, they're undefeated or they're playing well or whatever. And it's like, if you can't see on the field, that Cincinnati belongs in the top 10, I can't help you. If you think with watching your eyes that Coastal belongs in the top 10, you probably shouldn't be voting. And if you think I'm wrong, you can come up to me in the press boxes when you see me or on the field or whatever and say it. I'm like, we've still got this stuff is some sort of strange that in these AP rankings. I mean, this is a great poll, and it's being diluted by you've got stuff like, again, why is BYU ranked number 14 still? They should not be that high. Some of these teams have hardly played. Like you've got USC is number 16 in the country. They played 3 games. Ohio State's played 5 games. Again, Ohio State has jumped Clemson. I just am seeing this. Like I think Clemson's not as good as they were last year, but what are we basing this on? Are we basing it on you feel, as a voter? I'm not an AP voter. I have friends who are. And it confuses me sometimes how folks move teams up. Like Iowa State, I certainly would not put Iowa State in front of Georgia. I would not put Coastal Carolina in front of Georgia. I wouldn't put Indiana or Miami in front of them either. But if you want to make the case that Indiana and Miami have had better years, okay. But the only team that mattered that they played, they lost to as well. So, you look at, I think Indiana probably deserves to be up there more than Miami. But you look at Miami and you sit there and you say, okay, here are the Canes. And lately, 3 of their last 4 games, they've had to win within 5 points. They beat Virginia by 5, NC State by 3, and Virginia Tech by 1. Georgia's had 1 game within 7 that they won. Like, the games they've played have been, solid to dominant wins. You look at Cincinnati. To me, you watch Cincinnati have a very good quarterback. They have not played a game that's been competitive except the UCF game. And, they won that game by 3, but I think that they have proven during the season what makes sense. You look at Coastal, like, what are we basing this off of? We're only basing this off of the win over Kansas, a 15-point win. Honestly, they should have won. I'm not even talking about Campbell. Arizona State, a conference win, a solid win over Louisiana Lafayette by 3 points. They beat Georgia Southern by 14, beat Georgia State by 51, beat South Alabama by, quick math, 18. You beat App State by 9. You beat Texas State by a bunch, and you beat BYU. Which of those games there would be competitive with 8 of the SEC teams? Honestly, would Coastal beat Auburn? I don't think so. Would they beat Tennessee? I think they could beat Tennessee. So this isn't about, for lack of a better term, pooping all over Coastal. Coastal deserves to be in the top 10. Coastal deserves possibly to be in the top 15. They don't deserve to be in front of teams that are clearly better than they are. And this is the part that, to me, gets out of control with things is you have these teams that have great years, and they're having great seasons, including Indiana, by the way, and you overdo it. Like you move them so far up that it's ridiculous. So, Coastal, by the way, still has to deal with a game at Troy, which they should win. And then they got to play Louisiana Lafayette again in a championship game. And I'm not certain they win that game. That was a nail-biter the last time they played. So, Louisiana Lafayette could say at the end of the year, hey, we've won all of our games against the teams that we've played this season. But again, Louisiana has not been as dominant as Coastal. You look at their game against Georgia State, they win by 3. Their game against Georgia Southern, they win by 2. Obviously, they lost to Coastal. They beat UAB by 4. This past weekend, they escape at App State by 3. The Sun Belt is a very good conference for what it is. Okay, it ain't the SEC, and when we do this, it takes away from our standing with the public. They just look at us like we're morons because they can see with their eyes, hey, this is a great story. This is a great thing. These kids are playing well at Coastal and Conway, North Myrtle, up there in sort of northwest Myrtle Beach. They're not beating Oklahoma. They're not beating Georgia. Hey, and if there is an outside chance that you could see one of the Coastal play some of these teams, but inevitably, they ain't Boise. Boise built this thing up over a 15-year period. Coastal, this is a 1-year flash in the pan for them so far. And I wish them well. I shouldn't say this, but I was pulling for them last night because it's such a great story. But then when you get back to the, you're just like, man, are we, we're going to really push these teams up, that high? I mean, our overreaction, I've talked about this a lot this season. Our overreactions have been tremendous this year. We're really good at that as a society, but like, I don't know. I mean, it's just, you move Iowa up 5 because they beat Illinois. I mean, what can I say? Georgia, Missouri this weekend. Check out this highlight of Brock Vandagriff. Good player. Going to be a future quarterback at Georgia. Check all those out. We'll see you on the other side.